Hello dear viewers, and welcome to Christianity Daily with Sr Rose Bijoux. Until next time, be encouraged, be uplifted, and be blessed. Hello dear viewers, and welcome to Christianity Daily with Sr Rose Bijoux. I am back again today, and we are still continuing on our series on interpreting, how to interpret. Today's session is lesson number 2. It is entitled On the Altar. I'll be focusing on things to consider when standing on the altar. This session will cover the speaker, posture, the dress code, and the audience. The aim of this lesson is to help all those people who are already interpreters and wish to improve on their interpreting skills, or all those people who aspire to become interpreters. If you need more tips or advice on how to improve your interpreting skills, then this lesson is good for you. Number 1, focus on the preacher. When you're standing on the altar, focus on the preacher. Think of yourself as Aaron and Moses as the preacher. You will always hear me refer back to the story about Moses and Aaron because it is the perfect example that has been given to us in the Bible. This example clearly talks on how to interpret, how to enunciate, how to be eloquent. So you will always hear me refer back to it. Like Aaron, you are the preacher's mouthpiece. You have the responsibility to carry the message and carry it out to the people as clearly and as accurately as the preacher. Think of the preacher as someone that no one else understands except you. You need to translate this message or interpret this message in order for your target audience to understand it very clearly. For you to understand the story about Moses and Aaron, you can refer to the Bible in the book of Exodus chapter 4 verses 14 to 16. When standing on the altar and interpreting, you should avoid using your own words. In fact, do not add your own words at all. If you follow the example of Aaron in the Bible, you will see that Aaron did not use his own words. He used what Moses said. He interpreted Moses' words to the people. There is nothing that is more unprofessional or irritates me more than an interpreter who adds his own words, or they add their own words to spice up the message. I don't know what, but they keep adding on to what the preacher is saying. Please avoid doing this. You are the preacher to the people who are listening to you. You are the preacher to your target audience. Make sure that they get the message accurately. I just want to remind you as an interpreter that you are not yourself. You are impersonating the preacher. So forget about yourself. Forget what you like. Forget your name if you wish. And only focus on the preacher. Become the preacher when you're standing on the altar. The second point is posture. A good posture is required when standing on the altar. I will be giving you an example of how you should stand when you're standing on the altar very shortly. Standing with uprightness and symmetry will allow you to breathe better, and it will enable you to have a better voice projection. Standing slant from the preacher is advisable because it will help you to keep one eye on the preacher and the other eye on your audience. Position yourself in such a way that you are in constant alignment with the preacher. This will help you to avoid causing injury to yourself, and it will also avoid any discomfort because sometimes you stand for a long time on the altar. I'm now going to show you how I would like you to stand when you stand on the altar. So as I was saying earlier, I will demonstrate. When you're standing on the altar, you need to be able to stand upright. So you keep your body alignment in an upright and symmetry position to allow for better breathing, therefore better vocal projection. Making sure that you don't slouch, because sometimes we stand for long periods of time and we slouch, bending our shoulders forward. That can make us very tired and we stand the risk of injuring our backs. So standing slant, by that I mean, if this is my preacher, he is standing in front or she's standing in the front facing wherever they are, but I should be able to stand slant where I am. This is my altar, but I am facing, half facing the audience, half facing the preacher, sort of in the middle. So my one eye is on the preacher and my other eye is on the audience. So I can keep a constant contact with the audience, at the same time see what the preacher is doing with the other eye. As you practice it, you will be able to do it. Make sure there is enough space between you and the preacher. Don't stand too close so that you don't trip the preacher. Stand close, but not too close. Leave enough space between you and the preacher. We will demonstrate some more things later. Your posture should be able to allow you to mimic the preacher's gestures and movements comfortably without causing injury to yourself. The next point is the dress code. Dress code is very, very important. It is fitting to dress properly for service in order to avoid disturbing or distracting the audience, the preacher, or even yourself. As Christians, we actually have a dress code outlined for us. It is found in the book of 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 9. There in that verse, the Bible actually describes the way in which we should dress as Christians. It describes and tells us how we should dress. We should dress with 1, modesty, 2, decency, and 3, appropriateness. That is a Christian dress code. If you cannot follow these 3 codes stated in the book of 1 Timothy chapter 2 verse 9, then you should reconsider standing on the altar and addressing an audience. The clothes that you wear should be comfortable enough to allow you to mimic the gestures and movements of the preacher when standing on the altar. Gestures such as moving around, jumping, kneeling, bowing, lifting up your arms. Your clothes should allow you enough space to make all those movements and gestures. For women, the dress should be midi, which means below the knees, or maxi, which is all the way to the ankles. It should not be mini. Blouses and shirts should not be transparent. If they are, like what I'm wearing at the moment, you should have a t-shirt underneath to cover all the sensitive areas so as not to disturb or distract your audience. Materials such as jersey or stretch materials or tight clothing are not advisable because they will show through. It is very distracting and very unprofessional to wear clothes where your undergarments are showing through. It is very distracting to the audience and not quite fitting for the altar. If trousers are worn, suits or shirts covering up to below hips should be worn. This is to avoid the obvious show of body shapes, as it can be inappropriate and sometimes embarrassing to sensitive eyes. For men, yes, for men, you're not off the hook. You should not wear low-waist trousers. Trousers should also not be tight. No underwear should be seen. It is called underwear after all for a reason. Shirts and trousers should be comfortable enough again to allow for easy and flexible movement when on the altar. Formal clothes are advised when standing on the altar. Please avoid using denim. Please avoid using leather as they are not appropriate for the altar. A t-shirt should be worn underneath shirts for hygiene purposes and also to prevent any sweat patches from being seen. Avoid this if at all possible. Fourth point to consider: your audience. Please consider your audience. Very, very important. That is why you are there, to transmit the message to this audience. As an interpreter, you are the preacher to your target audience. They will focus on you and rely on you for the correct message. As I said before, please avoid using your own words. This is because the audience is relying on you for the correct message. If you use your own words, they are different from that of the preacher, you are or will be misleading your audience. Only use the words of the preacher, not your own. You should always face your audience. This will keep you connected with your audience. If the preacher moves away from the pulpit, you should try as much as is possible to move as well. As you move along with the preacher, the audience moves with you, you keep connected with them, and they will follow the message very carefully as they focus on you. This creates that proximity between you and the audience. Please avoid eye contact with the audience. Rather look at them above their heads, seeming as though you were actually looking at them. They will feel as though you are connected with them. Because if you look at them in the eye or you make eye contact with them, some people in the audience may make facial expressions that could be disturbing to you, especially when you stumble on the word. Some tend to make gestures, facial expressions, or even sounds that could distract you from interpreting. So please try as best as you can not to have an eye contact with the audience. In conclusion, being an interpreter is not just about interpreting the language. It is a skill to translate the correct message to your target audience. The 4 points that have been covered in this session have been useful to me personally as an interpreter, and I always use them when standing on the altar. I hope that you will practice them and that they will also be useful to you as you use them. Please contact me if you have any questions, queries, or testimonies. Your testimonies are very, very important, and as they could be used as a form of an encouragement for all the other people that will be watching this message. Please contact us. Do not hesitate to contact us. My Facebook page is Rose Bijoux Ramirez. I will be organizing workshops in this year, 2016, for all those who wish to attend, all those interested. If you are already an interpreter and you feel you need some more tips on how to improve your interpreting skills, or you are aspiring to become an interpreter, these workshops will be very useful to you. Please book yourself on my Facebook page when the dates are available. Until next time, be encouraged, be uplifted, and be blessed. Bye-bye.